Bestie. Welcome to the Best Bestie podcast. Have you ever been through a bestie rough patch? Whether it's a small fight, a full-blown fallout, or even a bestie beatdown?
Ooh.
The truth is, conflict is inevitable, but does it have to break the bond? My name is Lisa, and today with me are my besties, Anna and An.
Hello.
In today's episode, we're going to be talking about arguments. We're going to be talking about awkward moments and even having tough conversations with friendships. When done right, fighting always doesn't have to be a bad thing. Sometimes conflict can be a catalyst to strengthen friendships.
Yes. Facts.
Yeah. And I know a time when I clashed hard with a bestie. Let me tell you about this. It was when I was living in Austin, and it was with one of my girlfriends, and we would always go out to 6th Street, like, you know, a normal Austinite would. Yep. And that night, we had a little bit too much to drink, and she drank quite a bit. By the end of the night, we were calling an Uber home. She gets drunk. Super, super drunk. I'm trying to call an Uber. She starts yelling at me. She starts cussing me out, saying, "Fuck you. You're not my friend." Blah, blah, blah.
That's terrible.
All because she didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
And
whoa, really?
it's crazy. And I couldn't understand why she was cussing me out.
Right. Yeah.
And the next day, she acted like nothing happened.
Oh, that's a red
Damn.
flag.
That's a
red flag. No accountability.
Eventually, she apologized, but the friendship was never the same after that.
Wow.
Isn't that wild?
That's wild. So, dang, are you friends with her today?
We kind of, it's a season.
Let me ask you this. When that clash happened, what did you do afterwards? Did you guys not talk about it? Did you bring it up to her? You know, what happened?
I feel like it was so uncalled for, so out of the left field for me.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to respond. It was tough for me to communicate, and it really hurt my feelings. Because I knew she was drunk, and I knew she probably didn't mean those words, but it hurt. It hurt.
I mean, she knows.
hurt.
There's no way you don't know.
Right. And so I feel like I just kind of let it go.
Yeah.
Swept it under the rug.
Except another rug.
You know that never actually works.
Yeah.
But I'm
It's
proud
okay.
of you.
It's
I'm
okay.
proud of you for having the hard conversation, and we're here. So.
Yes.
But I think one of the hardest clashes I've had was actually with you. I remember there was a time when you came to me and asked me for my opinion on something.
Yeah.
And as I normally would, I'd show up and I'd give you my honest thoughts. And you asked me about a decision that you're going to make.
Yeah.
And at the time, you know, I love you. And I was like, you know, I want what's best for you.
Yeah.
So whatever makes you happy. And so ultimately I gave you my stance and I said, you know what? Here's what I think. You can do what you want to do. And from there, you made your decisions. And after you made your decision, I really didn't feel good about it.
Yeah.
And at first, I didn't want to admit it because I did the grown-up thing and said, no, don't worry about it. You know, do what you want to do. Be happy. But then deep down inside, I wasn't really happy.
Yeah.
And I think I sat with that for a while. And I didn't know what to do because it seems silly to just tell you, hey, I kind of changed my mind. But it happens. But ultimately, things moved on, moved forward. And I wasn't okay with what was happening.
Yeah.
And I remember pulling you aside and I said, you know what, Anna, like I thought about it. I sat with it and it doesn't feel right to me.
Yeah.
And I mustered all my energy to fight for myself and say, I'm going to ask you to not do this thing.
Yeah.
And I said, please respect my boundaries and I would really appreciate it if you just don't do it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you as a friend at the time,
It was hard. It was so hard. I mean, to start off, you know, when I came to you asking on your thoughts, even coming to you was very difficult, right? I mean, things happen. It was unexpected. And when you gave me the free reign to run, I was still conflicted. And I couldn't even, I was still conflicted. And when you drew the line, it was really hard. And to see the distress that I was putting you in and knowing that the decision I made was hurting you, right? And I know in that situation, when you did draw your boundaries, I wasn't a good bestie and I broke them continuously, selfishly.
and I think at that point in this conflict, I think there wasn't a win-win.
Yeah, for sure.
It was right then and there, somebody was going to get hurt and
Yeah.
you're already getting hurt.
Yeah.
And I remember as you continue to push the boundaries and continue to test the boundaries, it got to a point where
also, I was in a very interesting season.
I think I remember that season.
It was a very interesting season.
Wait, is that a new season?
It was an interesting one. Yeah.
But I remember, how do I say this? I just kept feeling more and more uncomfortable with what was. It wasn't disrespect yet.
Yeah.
But I kept feeling really uncomfortable about what was going on. And I just try to push it down. I try to not let it bother me. But at the end of the day, it really bothered me.
Yeah.
And I remember there was a time when I remember this was really hard for me.
Yeah. I remember this.
I felt like if I didn't draw a harder line, then I was going to get really disrespected.
Ooh. Right.
And I remember texting you and I remember saying, this is where my line is.
Mm-hmm.
Please respect it.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time you kept challenging it.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't like a intentional way.
Yep.
You actually just kept talking.
Yeah.
You kept explaining.
Yeah.
You kept telling me why you're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And then the more you spoke on why you're doing this, the more disrespectful I felt.
Yeah.
And never in our entire relationship have I ever said this to you. And I remember writing the text message and I looked at it and I put it down at first. I was like, I can't do it.
One of those.
And then I looked at it again and I said, I have to send this. And that text message said, Anna, please shut the fuck up.
Oh, no.
Period.
Oh, no.
And it was that point where I just didn't know what else to do. I was screaming like, please stop hurting me.
Mm-hmm.
And after I sent that message, I remember crying because I've never spoken to you like that before. And even sending that to you, I knew it was going to hurt you, but I had to do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember not talking to you for like a week.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really difficult. But what was more difficult was you dating my brother.
I'm sorry, what'd you say? Oh, shit. Okay. Well, I guess
Wait, I want to hear about how this text message was received by her.
So when you said that you were setting the boundaries and I just kept pushing it and I wouldn't stop explaining, this whole situation, I was acting out of guilt, out of shame, and you were communicating your boundaries, but I couldn't see it because my eyes were clouded. I couldn't see past my guilt and shame. And all I could do was try to explain why this is happening, how I felt, this, and that. And it was very selfish. And I remember when you sent that text message, I said, well, I'll be damned. I probably do need to shut the fuck up. Sorry. At that time, I remember you had set the boundary. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm pretty sure this is the call I need to make, which is to give her space. That was my initial, that's why I follow your intuition. That was my initial, like a call.
Yes.
But my guilt and shame overrode it. And I didn't respond to you for several hours or maybe even like until the next day. And that was my guilt and shame overriding what my intuition was telling me. And that's what initiated the text message. Yeah. And I remember getting that text message and beating myself up. And I was like, I knew it. Why would I question my intuition when I know her so well? Right. And I
remember I had the nerve to, after sending that text message, like, Anna, shut the fuck up. And I'm like, she didn't respond to me.
I didn't think about it. I was like, do I like it? Like, do I double tap it?
I just want response to that.
It was such a terrible place to be in. Like, I was like, I really wanted a response, but really, what do you say to that?
I remember I was like, do I like it? Do I heart it? No. But then she might get even more mad. Yeah. That's what I mean. Like,
She said, okay.
Yeah, I was like, do I put okay? Thumbs up, what I do?
Yeah, and then we didn't talk for a whole week.
Yeah. But that's because we were going to see each other.
It's true.
Yeah.
So I remember when.
So we needed the space, which is good.
I saw you.
Yeah.
I had so much pent up, like,
Rightfully so.
we got so much to talk about, right?
Yeah.
And I remember seeing you, and then, you know, we said hello.
Yeah.
And
It was very surface level.
it was so heavy on me,
Yeah.
right? And I remember going through the day, we had to go get groceries,
Yep.
we had to
A
go
lot of
do
things.
this. And of course, it wasn't the appropriate space.
Yeah.
And the whole time, every hour, I'm just like, is now a good time? Is now a good time?
Yeah.
Is now a good time? Do you remember that?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was
I mean, because
happy.
I was the same. I was like, "Is now a good time? Is now a good time? Is now a good time?"
And I remember it was all the way into the end of the night.
We also have to add this: we were with the group of people, so it's not like we're getting groceries together.
Right,
No,
that's
it's a
true.
group of
On a
people
trip.
on a trip.
trip,
Yeah.
yes.
And you just flew from US to Asia.
Yeah, it was an international trip. That
long
was the
flight.
first day, the first
that was
night.
the first
and there's other people. People were meeting for the first time, and
Yeah. And I remember leading up to the night, I was like, she hasn't knocked on my door.
she told me to shut the fuck up.
I know I told her to shut up, but
Not this hard.
not this much.
Yeah.
And I remember it was like almost like 11 p.m. I was
Yeah.
like, this bitch
It was the end of the
really
night. Yeah.
is gonna make me go to bed
Yeah.
with this, right? And I put on my slippers. I walked to their room. And I remember Lisa was staying. You guys are staying in the same room.
yeah. Got those.
So then I went in, and of course, you know, me and Lisa ain't got no beef.
Yeah, just chit
So
chat.
we're chit chatting, and Lisa's like, I don't know about y'all, but I'm going to bed.
I was like, I think this is a private conversation. I'm gonna pretend to sleep over here.
I remember that. And then I remember I sat on the bed just with so much pent up energy, and I didn't know it, but probably on my face said it.
No,
But
it was your face and toes and your hair.
in my head, I was like this, like, but in reality, I was probably like,
Yeah. So what happened was, we're talking. We obviously, there's an elephant in the room, and she just abruptly, and on in her cute, fiery self, she sits up. She goes, "All right, so we're gonna do this or what?" I was like, whoa. And then she has beautiful hair. So I remember seeing it. I was like, oh my God, her hair looks good. And then I was like, all right,
are we gonna do this or what?
yeah. And I was kind of laying down. I was like, all right. I was like, let's do this. I was like, but first, this tone that you're starting off with is not productive, right? I want to do this. You want to do this. There's a common ground there, but we can't move forward in this type of energy. And
I didn't know what else to be because
Yeah.
I was so hurt.
Yeah.
Like I think that anger and that let's do this was deep down. I'm like, oh my god.
Probably missed her.
well, also, you thought that I was avoiding it.
That's
right?
true. Because in my head, you know
Yeah.
what happens. You play these scenarios. I
Yeah.
was like, man, lunch is more important than talking to me. Unpacking is more important than talking to me. I saw her eat a watermelon. Is a watermelon more important than me?
That was pretty good.
I started to question, like, is she really my friend, dude?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I was
And so when we started communicating and talking about the scenario first about, that day, she thought I was being avoidant, but there were other factors in that day where the same way I was trying to look for an opening, but also earlier in that night, you had a conversation with somebody and it was a very heavy conversation on you, right? And the thing that you had to carry being a support from somebody else and you were crying and it was a very serious situation. And so I remember thinking to myself, damn, I really need to have this conversation. I was like, but I don't know, this is a good time, right? And for me, now looking back, yes, it was a difficult situation. The timing it's gonna be what it is. There never will be the right timing. And because of how long this has been building up, it was something that needed to be addressed quickly. Right?
there's never a good time.
Yeah,
There
there's
was
never a
no
good
perfect
time. There was never a good time.
But we did squash it
Yes.
by
Thank God.
1 a.m.
Yeah. We hugged it out and all this good stuff. But it was difficult because it was, what do you do when your personal emotions and your personal life intertwines with your emotions and love with your best friend, right? And so it was a difficult position for everybody, right? But the blessing is through all of this is just crazy and amazing. Am I really that surprised? No. But we actually became closer through this. Way closer. I mean,
if we could get any closer.
Answer is always
yes.
I love you.
But for all of us too that are involved. So I love you too.
Wow, that is crazy. Shit. I mean, let's talk about that. Why and how do besties clash?
Well, ultimately, there's a misalignment somewhere, right? A misalignment in belief system, and a misalignment in expectations, a misalignment in how you're supposed to be showing up for each other. And that misalignment leads to you ultimately having mixed feelings about something. And when you don't assess it and you don't journal and dive deep into what it is, then it kind of shows up in your behavior. You start to develop an attitude. You start to become impatient. You start to say things like, it's about time you made it.
Yeah.
Or you start to
get
say,
snide.
you start to get snide. You start to just have this energetic, like repelling
jabs and
and I think whenever that behavior starts to pick up, that's definitely the first red flag. But the other person who's receiving it does not know what's going on, and then they get defensive. They're like, "What the hell did
What's
I
wrong
do?
with you?
Are you on your period?"
Yeah, I was literally about to say that. Dude, are you freaking on your period? What's wrong with you? You need some chocolate?
And then whenever that happens, that triggers within that person all the things that they feel like they did right and didn't deserve this type of treatment. And then they start looking at all the things that that person had done wrong and be like, I did not deserve this. After all the things I did for you, this is how you treat me. And then they go and have a buffet of hurt feelings.
Ooh, that is one buffet I don't want to be at.
Well, speaking of buffet of hurt feelings and misalignment.
I'm hungry.
I know. This reminds me of a misalignment that we had in Vegas. And so it was planning for your batch. We're in Vegas for your bachelorette. And prior to the bachelorette, we were a team, right? We were flowing, we were doing everything together. And there came a moment where I just felt misalignment of energy. And you started doing things like taking credit and like one-upping me. And I remember the first couple times it happened, I was like, it's okay. I just kind of like wrote it off. But then I started to notice that it was a lot of things. And whenever I would share about what I did during the batch, I would always use we, even though I might have done it. But I always used we. And there was just this energy of overcompensating, and I didn't like it. Right, for us, because I love you. And I remember one of the nights in Vegas, I pulled you aside and I told you, I don't know what this is. I don't know what this energy is, but I love you. And I have so much respect for you. And I don't want you to feel that you need to compete. Right? We're freaking partners. We did this together. And whatever that is, like, I'm here for you.
That's such a loving way to communicate that. That was beautiful.
I'm so glad to have you guys as bestie, because that was really a beautiful moment. And that moment made me stop and reflect on why I'm being like that. And it made me think about, why am I being like this? So I reflected, and it made me think about the root of it, which was projecting my own insecurities, projecting the fear of not being enough. And so I think that's why besties clash, is because they're not communicating their fears.
Right.
And another fear.
And we all have it.
Yeah.
Right? It's just not either a bestie isn't talking to them in this way, giving as much grace and safety and love. And then also another bestie might not be aware that
They're
insecurity is what they're feeling. Right?
Yeah.
So I think another fear might be like fear of rejection. So maybe if you're doing something, you might do something and lose a friend.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many times that I would want to say something, but maybe in the past, it was very negatively received. And I would just hesitate. Maybe I think they can't handle it, or they're going to think that I'm a bitch if I say it, or I just don't want that kind of reaction again.
Yeah, that's true. You actually, I remember one time I made decisions about what I was going to do with a certain individual based on past experience with another individual. And you're like, Anna, why are you doing that? And I said, well, because from history, they usually respond like this.
And I said, honey, that's conditional
them.
thinking.
Yeah,
Okay?
yeah. I was like, that's
you
so true.
develop some conditional
and the
behavior.
thing is, when you bring your past baggage into new relationships, you also take away what that person can do, right? And what and letting them show you who they are.
Yeah.
Letting them show you, hey, this is how I respond and react. But going back to your point about losing a friend, I really resonate with that because I think one of the first very difficult conversations I had with you had to do with one of your ex-boyfriends.
Which one? I don't think you liked a few of those.
We're not gonna talk about that. But what happened was, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys can relate, is, Lisa was mad. I don't want to say madly, but she was falling in love, and she was really excited for me to meet one of her exes. And when I met him, I didn't like him. I didn't like him.
What didn't you like about him?
I didn't like anything. I didn't like his energy.
Yeah.
I didn't like the way he treated her. And I saw red flags from the beginning, from that one interaction. And I remember that night, or not that night, the next day, waking up and sitting with my emotions and sitting with my thoughts. And I had a decision to make. I had a difficult decision to make. And I thought to myself, I could either A, not say anything and just let it pass, or I could B, tell her the truth, because real friends will tell you the difficult things. And I remember before that call, I was so scared to call you because I remember crying, and I called you and I called another friend, and I was crying, and I said, I don't know, I might lose Lisa through this.
Yeah.
But what the outcome can be and what the right thing to do and everything, and being a good friend for you outweighed my fear of losing you.
Yeah.
Because if I didn't do that, I would not be a friend to you.
Right.
That would make me not a good friend.
Wow.
And I remember making that call, and you graciously listened, which is really important, I believe, too, is not just communicating in a healthy way to your bestie, but also listening to your bestie in a healthy way, which is what you did.
Right.
And I remember that phone call because we were going back and forth about whether or not this is the right behavior of a good best friend. And I remember saying to you, I think you have to say something because 1, this is what you feel in your heart. 2, if it doesn't play out, then it would be more hurtful if she found out that this was in your heart and you never voiced it. But if it does work out and you voice it, you are still being a best friend by expressing concern, care for her and for her well-being. So really it's a win-win by saying it, but it was just the fear of losing them.
Yeah. But that was, being your friend outweighed it all.
Yeah.
And so I ate the broccoli.
Wow.
Where's the broccoli? Where's B-Rock? By the way, broccoli, right? His name is B-Rock. We said it earlier. And he's actually Asian. B-Rock Lee.
Well, I'm glad that you ate the broccoli.
Thank you.
And that's what makes you a good bestie.
Thank you. Thank you. Speaking about fears of why people may not want to communicate and do the hard things and eat the broccoli, in that same situation, I also felt fear of I felt fear of losing the peace because we had a certain dynamic, and now we're at a point. Yeah, there's tension. There's a point where I'm like, man, like I don't know how this is gonna work out. But the reality about trying to maintain the peace is that if you don't say something, if you don't communicate, that peace is not real.
Yeah, because imagine if you didn't say something. You wouldn't be at peace when around her, and she's in the illusion that there's peace. Yeah. But then if you say something, then she'll be fearful of like maintaining the peace with you because bringing him around you.
Exactly.
But at least like this is the truth, right?
This is the truth.
And you move with respect, respecting boundaries, communicating, hey, are you okay with this? Are you okay with that? But if you don't, then you're living in this like discomfort, imaginary peace.
Exactly. And the thing is, if you live in that imaginary peace, that illusion, it's fake. It's fake. It's gonna fall apart anyways. It's not gonna last.
I can only imagine how, that's another fear of why besties clash is how much you felt like a burden to me if you told me that.
That's so
and
true.
then how much you would have feared that judgment of how I would have judged you.
And even the fear of putting it in her head. And how it might affect the relationship. And that you were going to be, I guess, the cause of like...
of a breakup and da-da-da-da-da.
That's a lot to carry. So thank you for eating the broccoli.
I got you.
But I think all fears ultimately root in the same thing, which is not feeling safe. Not feeling safe enough to say whatever is on your heart. Not feeling seen or not being understood for why you would say something like that, right? I'd imagine that there are some besties out there who don't have besties like us, who would feel these things and think like, oh, I don't want to be the one that says it. Or if it doesn't work out, then I don't want to be the one that like called it. You know? And they keep all of this to themselves. And selfishly, but also like most of it is based on fear, right? And not feeling safe enough to say the hard thing and still be loved and still have the friendship. So I feel like all of these are rooted based on the feeling safe and seen. And that can be resolved by establishing more safety with your besties. And safety is something that's built, and it's something that is compounding through time that you spend together. And it's moments of vulnerability, it's moments of hardship. And
Eating the broccoli together.
And every time you do that, you establish another layer of safety, of understanding each other. And I feel like that's the foundation of the best bestie.
Well, I know for myself, and I know for other people, they can definitely relate when you're overwhelmed by all of these fears. Because not just one of them, just imagine all of them compounding together. And so when you start feeling overwhelmed by these fears, it can lead to avoidant behavior.
We all know avoidant behavior. We all know this behavior because we don't want to talk about it.
We're avoiding the avoidant behavior.
But here's the truth about avoidant behavior. It's only delaying the inevitable. And it sucks because you think that it's doing something, but it's seeping into your energy. It's actually showing up in the way you feel. It's showing up in the way you think. And it's showing up in your energetic field of how you do things, such as if you get a text from a friend and you're displaying some avoidant behavior, you'll look at the text and be like, oh, I gotta do laundry.
I gotta go eat some watermelon.
I gotta go feed my goldfish.
Oh wait, I don't have fish. I need to go buy my goldfish so I can go feed it. So you'll like avoid text messages. You'll just have a higher flake ratio, to be honest. And it's because you'll say it because that's the version you want to be. But then when it comes down to getting ready and going there, all this negative feedback comes up in your body. All this negative feedback comes up in your mind, and you talk yourself out of doing it. And then now you're tarnishing your reputation of showing up as a best friend. And you're not even acknowledging why and where it's coming from, which is why it's avoidant behavior. And the one that really triggers me is you slowly become unappreciative of invites.
That's good.
And whenever you have a fresh friendship, you know, in the spring, like whenever you get an invite, you reciprocate right away. Okay, let's do dinner.
I'll be there.
Again. I'll do the next one. I'll host at my place, right? And then whenever you start to develop some emotional baggage in the relationship, some things that are felt aren't said, you start to develop these fears, these avoidant behaviors. And then whenever they invite you to a dinner party, you're like, oh, do I really want to go? What if they talk to me about this? What if I see so-and-so? What if I feel uncomfortable? What if I want to leave, but they won't let me? What if I just like feel like I just want to go home and then I feel bad about it and then they talk shit? And all of this stuff are real things. But why let it get that far? Why create so much suffering for ourselves when we can just address what is bothering us? And yes, it's a hard thing. It's a hard question. But when I tell you you're only delaying the inevitable, it's going to come out, sis. And unfortunately, when you don't eat the broccoli, it comes out in a nasty way.
That's right.
That's like, you know, like really big heated arguments or just like, how do I say this? Like your energy doesn't lie. You know what I mean? Like
you can tell.
You can tell. Like even if they're lying to themselves and just pretending that it's not it, like you just feel it. And you can't help but reciprocate the same energy. Does it make sense?
Absolutely.
Totally agree.
But with all that being said, we have these fears and we have this avoidant behavior. How do we fight right? How do we handle this bestie clash?
Well, like any fight, there has to be rules, right? Consensual
Like
rules.
12 rounds.
3-minute rounds?
Yeah, and we need a clear outcome. Like asking yourself, what are we even fighting for? Are you fighting to be heard? Or are you fighting to be understood? Right? Are you fighting to win?
Or sometimes you're just saying things just to fucking say things.
Yeah. You just want to fight.
But
Ultimately fighting to move forward.
is the
Right.
best, yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes we need a ref. Because
I'm sorry, that was really loud.
Thanks for being the rep.
sometimes you need a ref because, you know, when you want to tear your opponent's head off, it's hard to communicate clearly.
Yeah.
And speaking
Yeah.
of a ref, because we have our little trio here, sometimes we act as a ref for each other. And there was this one time I remember, Lisa, I had some beef with you.
Sorry.
And I remember, like, it was a slow build up.
Yeah.
There were just things that you were doing that I just started to slowly feel disrespected with my time. Like, I would make a lot of effort and say, hey, do you want to do this? Do you want to do this? And you're like, yeah, sure. And I'm like, which one? And then you're like, oh, maybe this one. I was like, okay, when do you want to go? Tomorrow? No response.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know, maybe she's going through something. She's busy. She's busy.
Yeah.
And then I follow up the next morning. Hey, so did you still want to go tonight? Like at 6? No response. And I just keep making excuses. I'm like, no, it's okay. It's okay. Because you're not always like that.
Right.
But it was one thing after the other. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I just let her come to me. And then she started to come to me and say, hey, let's do this and let's do that. I'm like, perfect. This is exactly what I want. But the things that she wanted to do, she wouldn't follow through on. She would say, I want to be, hey, let's meet up at 10. And then she'll text me at 10:30, letting me know she's not going to be there at 10. And I was like, are you fucking serious? And I'm like, what are you doing? Right?
What you
And
mean?
she would have all these reasons, all these excuses. And I kept again and again. I'm like, okay, let's try this again. And there was one specific day where she said to me, I'm going to get on the train and I'm going to go to your place and I'll be there at 11:45. And I said, okay. This time it felt for real because she said she was going to get in the train. She said, I'm OTW. That's pretty legit, right? So I went down the street and I picked up lunch. As a matter of fact, I picked up a nice lunch, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to have lunch with my bestie. And when it was 11:55, she messaged me and said, oh, the train isn't running. I was like, first of all, you said you're going to be here at 11:45 and you find out at 11:55 the train's not running. And then I was like, that's interesting because for as long as I've lived in New York City, the train always fucking runs. But I was like, okay. I was like, you know what? It's fine. I'll just eat her lunch for dinner, I guess. And I just felt so... I don't know. I just felt so disappointed and I felt disrespected and I just felt let down. And it got to a point where I just wasn't fighting for it anymore. I was like, you know what? If she ain't here, she ain't here. If she's here, she's here. Worst case, I eat what I eat for lunch, I eat for dinner. And I remember calling Anna and I was telling her like, I'm so tired and I'm just going to stop trying. And this is when Anna showed up as a rep.
So while this is all happening, I saw the progression and I didn't feel that it was the right time for me to interject because it was their situation. They were figuring it out. I was letting it flow. But when An got to that point where she was throwing up the white flag, Lisa didn't see what was happening. I said, all right, it's his time.
I'm so thankful that you came in and was that ref.
Yeah.
I was going through a transition and figuring things out, figuring out the train.
Yeah.
And I think that's what besties do, though.
Yeah.
You know, they communicate their boundaries and they set some expectations and they have that honest conversation and tell them to do better.
Yeah.
And so I knew that it was coming from a place of love. And so that's where we are, why we're here now.
Yeah.
So thank you.
So what happened was, the juice continues. So what happened was I called Lisa and I asked her, I was like, hey, what are you doing? And you're like, I'm recording a video. I said, okay, cool. you should probably hop on the train.
And she goes,
She was like, it's not running. I'm like, oh, well, I think the trains in New York never stop running. She goes, no, but it's not working. I said, oh, okay. Well, you should probably make your way to Long Island City as soon as you can. And then I think you caught it and you're like, are you saying I should wait at the train station? I said, yeah, you should probably wait at this train station. Like now.
I got my ass to the train, right?
And it worked out.
and she got on the train and she made it here. And we did have a late lunch.
Yeah.
But we end up squashing it. And we end up having really heartfelt and tough conversations. And I remember when we had that conversation, I could have easily just came from the place of what it made me feel. I'm so angry. You made me eat lunch by myself, blah, blah, blah. But I just went straight to the rawness of it. I was like, look, I had my hopes up and you let me down. I was really hurt by these empty promises. And I'd even asked you to come over. You said you were going to come over. Why are you doing this to me? And just going straight to like the meat of what I was feeling instead of dancing around all this other stuff. She saw me.
Yeah.
And she saw how much I just wanted her to just,
Yeah.
for us to be good.
Yeah.
And I think it was like really quick after that.
Yeah. Back into flow.
So that was a time. And I had to eat some broccoli.
You want a broccoli diet, bitch.
But after you eat the broccoli, there's some rules to a fight.
Yes. And one of the rules is address it early. And I am a big advocate of addressing it early. Because if you don't, it'll take root. And a lot of times when you don't address it early, it takes root. It can lead to a big misunderstanding that could have been avoided. And so one of the things that I like to do whenever I do feel in a misalignment or I feel some type of pull is I would journal. I love journaling. And so one of the exercises that I do, and I know it sounds a little crazy, but trust me on this, is journal for 3 pages nonstop. And I know sometimes when you first start journaling, you're like, I can't even get past a couple lines. But that's part of the practice, is because a lot of times if you sit in your head, you can't process what the root is. All you can feel are your emotions. You can feel your pain and your hurt. And when you see, there's power when you see your words on paper or on the laptop, whichever works for you, and go through it. And when you journal, I like to start off with why I was hurt or how I feel. And I like to let me slow down. So when it's something that's very triggering for me, and I know I'm going to say things that are not fair, and I know I'm going to say things that are going to be very hurtful, I like to start off my journal entries saying, Anna, I'm not going to judge you for what you're about to say.
That's beautiful.
And I know there's some things you're about to say that are actually not true, and you know they're not true. They're not true about that person.
Calling yourself out.
Yeah.
That's good.
But I'm going to give you the space to let it all out, because if you don't, you'll never get to the root of what it really is.
Wow.
And so once you start that process, man, I felt this way because I felt like they didn't show up for me. They weren't there, X, Y, Z, and going down that route. But it's like, I'm mad at them because I'm hurt. I'm hurt because the reality is I feel like I'm always showing up for them. And I feel it's one-sided. I feel it's one-sided.
And you'll feel it when you're there.
And you'll start feeling it. And I'm like, and you feel it and you go deeper and you're like, man, I felt like they weren't there. But here's the beautiful thing that I found is when I journal deeper and deeper, I actually reach a spot where then I can get out of myself and I can now see from another perspective and have empathy and be like, you know what? Maybe they weren't there because you know what? They did just have a kid. Maybe they weren't trying to not see me. Maybe they just didn't have the capacity. Damn, right? And that's when once you figure out how you feel, what the root is, go to your friend, go to your bestie and communicate. Let them know and share with them how you feel and let them share their story. Because you know what? This whole thing actually could just be a complete misunderstanding that could be avoided. And it's also how you say it, right? You don't have to be confrontational, which goes into rule number 2 of fighting healthy is communicate clearly. Don't go around, don't put hints, none of that stuff. Be direct with love, be clear. They're not psychic, they can't read your mind, right? So let them know how you feel and communicate clearly. And one of the tools I like to use is communicate from I versus you. What do I mean by that? You never listen to me. You always talk, or you don't pay attention, XYZ. When in reality, what it is I felt unheard and I felt unseen, and that hurts me. Right? So you're speaking from your heart, you're speaking from your pain and your root, and you're leaving it open so you guys can discuss it.
I love these,
That was
Anna.
amazing.
These are golden nuggets.
Those were some good. I like your journaling process. That's
Thank you.
amazing. I'm gonna have to try that out. But I think another rule to how to fight productively would be to own your part.
Yeah.
Be accountable, even the bad ones, not
Yeah.
just the good ones, right? And take responsibility for your actions and your inactions. Get your ass on the 7 train. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I love that. And I think whenever you're at the heat of a conflict, honestly, ain't nobody want to look inside. It's so easy to just vomit on people, your emotions, and all the things you expect from them. That's the easy thing, right? And it's hard to get to a place where you're communicating from your heart. It's hard to get to a place where you're communicating clearly. So one tip I found is finding common ground. When you're at the heat of things, you only see what you want to say.
Yeah.
And when you establish any type of common ground, you start to agree on what we're doing. For example, let's say Lisa and I are just, I can't stand her talking about train ain't running. I cannot listen to it one more time.
For a minute.
If she said anything, I would just be like, no, I don't want to hear it, right? But if we establish any common ground, then one of us could say something that we can both agree on, such as, Lisa, this is really hard and this is really triggering, but can we both agree that we wanted to have lunch together?
Yes.
Can we both agree that we don't want to feel this way anymore?
Right.
Can we both agree that this isn't the best kind of relationship that we want for each other?
Yeah.
Right.
And the more yeses that you get, you'll feel the height of the emotion slowly to come down. And you'll start to think, okay, now that we've established these common grounds, what pieces don't fit? And where do we go from here?
That's good.
And it doesn't happen right away, but when you establish that common ground, then they match your energy.
Yeah.
You feel safer just because they're not defending their point or they're fighting you to be right or wrong. And then the other thing was
good.
and when you establish this common ground and you start to have healthier conversations of saying, Lisa, the way that you behave is disrespecting to my time.
Right.
I do not give my time to everybody, and me giving you an open calendar is already me doing a lot. And whenever you can communicate clearly, like you said, then she'll understand fully what it means to me on what she does and what I do. And then together we can build new behaviors together.
Yes.
Because if she walked away with this and said to herself, I'm never not getting on the train again, did she really learn anything? No, because it's not about the train.
Yeah.
And so if she walked away with avoidant behavior or saying, oh, I'm just not going to do that anymore. I'm just not going to have lunch with On anymore because lunches aren't, easy. Yeah. Then these are all just excuses and not learning from these things. But instead, we established new behavior. We said, Lisa, if you're struggling to keep up with your commitments, just let me know that you're having a hard time and I'll come out to you.
Right.
You don't have to come to me and I'm more than happy to. And so when she feels safe and seen, then she'll be like, oh, okay. And then we start from scratch. We start over, right? Yeah. And there was one thing I wanted to add, Anna, whenever you're making these golden nuggets about journaling. One thing I also found that helped me a lot in journaling is whenever you're writing out your emotions and your thoughts of they should have done this, you want to test out some of the details. If Lisa said to me, hey, I'm going to try to make it at 11:45, but if I'm late, it might be because of this, or I'm going to do my best. And just switching out some of the details of what happened, you'll be able to quickly identify what the real issue is.
Yeah,
Because it's not about the time. It's not about the lunch, right?
Yeah.
It's about not communicating to me when she knew she
Yeah.
wasn't going to make it on time.
Yeah.
And whenever you identify it that clearly, you just cut all straight to the chase. You
Cut
said,
the fat. Just cut the fat.
and just go straight into what the issue is and start quickly building these new behaviors.
Yeah, be a samurai.
Be like B. Rock Lee.
Be like B. Rock Lee.
At the end of the day, it's not about having conflicts. It's about growing through them. Healthy friendships aren't perfect. They're built through honesty and communication. Avoiding fights doesn't save friendships, but working through them does.
I love that. I love that. And so a couple questions to ask yourself to journal on today is, if you can go back in time, what's a bestie fight that you would redo and go over? Ooh. And the second question is, where are you being avoidant and where can you eat the broccoli?
Nice.
And don't avoid that question. But if you're
If you feel like avoiding it, that's you. You need to do it.
If you're vibing with us today, if you got any type of inspiration, or if you had a bestie that came to mind about how you can show up better in their lives, share this with them. Send them this video and follow us on our journey. Follow us on YouTube, TikTok, wherever it is, because we want to connect with you. And so if you had any thoughts or had any stories you want to share, please leave it in the comments below. We love reading the comments.
I know.
It makes us feel like you're here with us in this conversation. So stay tuned, and we are looking forward to seeing you on the next episode of The Best Bestie.
Bye.